Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Craven.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Trying to get the mic right. Yes, we are glad that you're joining us today, and unfortunately our guest doesn't seem to be joining us. She may drop in. We don't really know for sure. She's connecting from the other side of the world, so there could be all kinds of issues going on. But
could be.
If we can't get her this time, we'll get her another time. She's connecting from Singapore, which is, I got to give her credit for even being willing to do that, right? Because I think it's like 4 a.m. there or something like that. So, yeah, we can cut her some slack, I think.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
I give her credit for even wanting to do it. That's pretty good. But I see you're all bundled up with the scarf around your neck. So, I know you live in Canada, but is it still pretty darn cold there? Is that what's going on?
No! It's hot today. It's plus 12. Yes. I just, our home is very energy efficient. Like it holds in heat or it holds in cold. So we have a market garden business. So we've got a lot of plants that are growing in here. And so there's lots of fans going and dehumidifiers and stuff. And so I'm just being a baby.
That's okay. You're entitled. No problem at all.
That's right.
That, when you live that far north, that is a consideration for a large part of the year. How cold is it? So first thought that I think of whenever I see you logging on to do a show with me. But we were kind of chatting before we got started about, where do we want to go with this? And our guest, describes herself as a pivotal healer for cancer survivors. We figured, well, okay, health. Why don't we do something with health? It was Jody Lynn's idea, and I thought that was a good idea. I had no idea where we're going to go with it. And who knows, maybe Jan will check in and we can just go, in her direction. But in the meantime, we'll just, pick something up. I'll tell you one thing that I am kind of interested in here. And maybe this does become a starting point. Cause, everybody knows I went through the divorce. Louise and I broke up last October. And then early November, I did something I hadn't done in years. I got a whole bunch of blood work done to see how healthy I was and to see, was there anything I need to work on. And since then, I've been kind of on a little bit of what can I do to tweak my health kick? Not that I'm in bad health or anything like that, because the results that I got were good. But I did this time, a hair test because of a guest who was here on the show. And the hair test results came back and it's different from what you get from, say, blood test. But it basically isolates how much of each of the nutrients and vitamins and minerals and all that kind of stuff that are currently in your body and how much of it is showing up in the hair compared to how much on average they figure should show up there. So you can see where your deficiencies are. And found that I was doing pretty well on most things. One really surprised me because it kind of flies in the face of conventional knowledge, but apparently my iron levels are low. And that's surprising. You look at the look on your face. That's what I thought too. Cause usually it's the female who has the low iron levels and the men can actually have to be careful because they can get too high. No, mine are actually too low. So that's one of the things I need to start addressing. But, that and vitamin A is a little bit on the low side. So I've been working on that with some supplements. And yeah, just taking one little step at a time. Oh, also back in February, we had a gentleman on, his name was Ian Clark. We did a show where he talked about, putting, ocean-based minerals into your water.
Yeah.
And so, I bought his product and I've been doing that and that, I don't know what any of these are doing necessarily, but I'm feeling differences in my body and I'm feeling stuff going on that I'm not really happy about, but anytime that you get a signal from your body, that's a good thing because it's telling you something.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, since I really started doing this in depth, I have been experiencing a recurring pain, low grade pain in my Achilles heel area on my right foot. And of course that's important because I'm a dancer, right? You don't want to have that kind of thing, but it's been going on for a couple months now. And I found that, well, first of all, I tried to isolate it, did I strain something? Is there like a grade one strain or something like that? And it kind of surprised me because I found that it can move. The pain moves. Sometimes it gets up into my calf. Sometimes it gets into my ankle. Sometimes it's around the Achilles. Okay, what kind of pain moves around like that? That just seems kind of strange.
Yeah.
And the more that I've been experimenting, cause I don't know, I don't remember if I've told you, but I've told listeners on the podcast a couple of years ago, I had an issue with my knees and it got so bad I couldn't even hardly walk around. There was one day I was in so much pain I was just in bed. I couldn't even move.
Wow.
And then I remembered that I knew about law of attraction. And so I figured, well, let's see if I can use mindset to heal it. And I did a thing and within about a week, and I'm pretty sure that the pain was due to somehow having injured my ligaments. I'm not sure exactly how, but the ligaments in my knee were where they're located. I look them up on Google and so forth. Where they were located was exactly where I was experiencing the pain. So I figured, okay, these are probably ligaments. Ligaments take a while to heal. I got rid of 90% of the pain in a week after having pain for like 3 or 4 months.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, it was a lot of work. It was not easy. It was not like I could just, okay, vision done. No. I had to put effort in. I had to put mental effort in, and it was quite a thing. But I did manage to do it, and within a few weeks, I had almost all the pain gone. In fact, I think it was gone in just a few weeks. So I consider that pretty significant. Well, I said, I'm going to try to do the same thing with this. So I kind of applied the same techniques, and I haven't succeeded yet. But just today, I was out taking a walk, and I was feeling the discomfort, and it was kind of moving around. And at one point, it got up into my knee, and I said, "Okay, this is really weird. What's it doing in my knee? 5 minutes ago, it was down on the ankle, right?"
Yeah.
I'm realizing that I don't know what's going on a physiological level, but my mental state is affecting what's going on with my leg, and my ankle, and my foot, and all that. There's something going on with my mental state because I'm playing. I'm trying to experiment with what can I do to kind of shift this thing around. And I haven't succeeded in finding the answer, the final clue yet, but I can tell you this, I got back from the walk. In the middle of the walk, I thought I was going to have to stop and, put my foot up for half an hour at one point because there was so much pain. Right now, it feels fine, except for a little tiny bit of, it's almost like you didn't stretch enough, a little tiny bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something going on there, and it has something to do with my mental mindset, but I still haven't quite figured out exactly what.
Well, 2 things. Maybe you don't need to figure out the what. You just need to keep doing whatever you were doing. Because a lot of times we get stuck on that point of I need to know what caused it and why it's occurring and everything else. And it's like, okay, well, do you? Maybe, perhaps. Could you get rid of it without knowing?
It helps me. It helps me if I know the what, because for whatever reason, knowing the what helps me believe that I now know how to shift it. Whether it be mentally or physically or anything else.
Yeah.
But you're right. You can also go the other direction pretty easily. And I can't honestly tell you which side of that divide I'm on right now. So
you could be straddling the line. This could be a border situation.
Wonder the foot hurts. I'm just straddling that border, right?
Yeah. Now I want to know, the second thing is, what is the process that you've been using? Are you willing to walk us through it?
Oh yeah, sure. I have walked through it before, but it's really, it goes back to my very first experiment with law of attraction when I first saw The Secret. The Secret came out in 2006. I saw it for the first time in 2007. And then I read the book afterward. And the process that I used then, there was a cyst that was on a knuckle. I can't remember which hand it was. One of my pinkies on the knuckle had a cyst. And I didn't know what it was at first. I had an occasion to see a doctor about something else and asked her about it. She said, "Oh, it's a cyst. You need to have that removed. Because if you don't remove it, it's not going to go away. And if you don't remove it, it could actually become cancerous or something like that. So you want to make sure you get it taken care of." And of course I resisted that because I don't really like to do anything like that if I can avoid it. I said, this is a great test case. Let's see if I can use the law of attraction to get rid of the cyst. So I started, bombarding it with gamma rays in my mind and just doing all this stuff to get rid of it, and nothing happened. It stayed right there. And then I realized, I'm actually not doing this the right way. What I need to do is I need to imagine a finger free of a cyst. In other words, just a clean skin the way it needs to be. I said, well, how do I do that? Because every time I look at that finger, I see a cyst. You know, I mean,
right. How can you?
It's still there, you know, right?
Yeah.
I remembered, well, I've got another pinky finger on the other hand. So I said, I'm going to do a little experiment. I'm going to pretend that the right pinky looks just like the left one in reverse. And I visualized on that for a bit. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then a month later, I remembered the experiment and I looked for the first time in a month and it was gone.
It was gone. And it will never leave, quote unquote.
Not without surgery, yes.
Yeah, so. We're not without surgery.
By the way, she was a really good, as physicians go, I would rate her as a very, very good physician. So I'm not going to criticize her because she actually was one of those physicians who was willing to kind of step beyond the boundaries and so forth and do stuff that mainstream would say, oh, no, you can't do that. So I got to give her some credit, but she
absolutely. Well, and you know what? I don't mean that in a way of criticism. Maybe I said it kind of cheeky and I would apologize to that if she was listening. And my experience.
Your cheekiness is charming, so it's okay.
No, thank you. Maybe not all people think that. But I appreciate that, you do. And I think that there's capacities that we all hold when we hold a title, like a doctor or financial advisor or whatever, right? We have these, I don't know, almost like the bowling bumpers. So you stay in your lane and you don't get the gutter balls, things like that. But I mean, I went to a doctor's appointment a couple of weeks ago. I actually had to miss the show because I took my parents to a couple of doctor's appointments. And, I remember in the doctor's appointment with my mom, we were talking to her kidney doctor and, I was asking some questions and I thought it was really interesting because I'm just a bystander to the information. I'm just curiously asking, about this, that, the other thing. And it actually had to do with iron. And my mom was taking iron pills. And then she's like, I really don't like what happens after I take them. And I said, is that results, like what happens, the excretion, is that because her system is not actually absorbing the iron and therefore it is being expelled from the system? And the first thing he said was, nope. And then he walked that statement back.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He was like, well, actually, you know what? Like he came full circle back to it. It's probably the reason why she's seeing that, but something is better than nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm understanding, he only has so many powers or so many levers within his job of what he can and cannot do. And the absorption level of said pills is not his thing. So you can't really speak to that. But even we were talking about her kidney function and, it had declined and then it's stable now. And the doctor follows up with her every 6 months or every year or whatever. And I had asked the question because he started talking about kidneys being healed. And he started the statement with people have healed their kidneys and they've had, an upward tick. But we have no idea why. We assume that these damages are permanent and that might not always be the case. And so, of course, me, inquisitive, do you think she could heal her kidney? No, absolutely not. Okay, well, as soon as we walked out of there.
Action going on here.
Yeah. Like you don't know how that person healed their kidney or why it healed or why the function improved. You don't have a clear analysis or reasoning according to science as to why that happened and why it wasn't permanent. So how can you actually say absolute certainty, no, that she cannot heal it? And he kind of walked that back too. Like, I mean, anything is possible is how he ended it.
That's something.
Yeah, that was better because I think I have control issues with my face. Like it's all on my face if you want to know how I'm feeling. Like I just can't, I don't have a very good poker face. So I must have had a reaction to like, okay, you just said that you could, but now she can't. Like what? It doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why he walked it back. But, I think that with these titles comes these bumper pads of like, stay in your lane. And like, I've had other doctors say to me specifically, no, there's nothing you can do. It's not it's not possible. But I keep thinking in the back of my mind about the nocebo and the placebo.
Yeah.
You know, if he tells her that it is possible, maybe she will believe him. And if she believes him and she starts doing some exercises with law of attraction with her mind and starts changing that state that she's in, perhaps she could effectively have a great change in a positive way on her kidneys.
I totally agree. And something I've mentioned actually as recently within the last week, but I've also mentioned it previous times here on the show on a number of occasions. My sister-in-law, Donna, is a PhD. She got her PhD in statistics, but it was originally she was pursuing it in either the neurosciences or a biology or neuroscience mix or something along that line. She eventually ended up choosing statistics, but she took a bunch of these courses that were in line with where she was originally going. And she told me one time something that really caught my attention. It caught it so much that I keep repeating it every time I get the opportunity. But she said that, we have this ability these days to wire people up for almost everything and, detect what's going on anywhere in the body. And what we're finding is you can actually wire up the entire body so you can just trace what's going on, with all the different systems, what's going on in the head, what's going on with the circulatory system, the nervous system, the endocrine system. You can basically be tracking all these at the same time. And what we found is if you got somebody hooked up like that and they have some section of their body that's got, like a viral infection or there's an injury or, something that needs some form of healing. If you ask the patient to focus on something happy or positive or something that feels good to them, they can time it 90 seconds later. They can trace through the body. They can see how the body is sending signals and doing all the stuff that it does until it gets down 90 seconds later to the point that needs some kind of healing. And they can actually spot the healing processes going on. They can see the cells doing the stuff that they're supposed to do to heal. And she said also, if you do the opposite, if you ask the patient to think about something sad or something that makes them angry or frustrated or something like that, they trace the exact same pathways and they can actually see in that part of the body that the body is trying to start killing itself. It's actually killing off healthy cells. And it happens both ways within 90 seconds. 90 seconds, a minute and a half.
That's not a long time.
No. So, we've actually gotten to the point now where medical science is going to probably continue on a mainstream basis. They're going to continue to try to pretend that doesn't exist, that, it really doesn't mean anything. But, Pandora's box is open. It's already out now. And very few people know about it, but more and more people are becoming aware of similar kinds of stuff. It's starting to reach a critical mass. We aren't there yet, but there's a critical mass that's being built up. And as we achieve that critical mass, people are going to say, you know what? Our minds do actually have a measurable effect on our bodies.
Yes.
What the hell are we going to do to leverage that? And what the hell are we going to do to stop harming ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how this is related. Well, I do know how this is related, but last night, my husband, over the last couple of days, my husband Nate said, what do you want to do? Like, what's your big, goal?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of all of this? And I was like, that's very interesting. Like, there's a lot of things I'm working on. And last night I finally landed on how to express it. Okay. And what I expressed to him is what I want to do for the world is give them an opportunity to feel what this land has allowed me to feel. Peace, serene, blissful, abundant, just perfectly secure and safe and excited about the possibilities of life.
Wow.
And I think that's where healing begins when you get into that state where this is where I perceive healing begins is when you get out of that flight or fight state and you are grounded. And I think Mother Nature is here to help us do that. But you're in a place, a state in your own mind, in your own body of that peace so you can function at a higher frequency.
Yeah, very interesting. And what happens, of course, anytime that you're focusing on something such as peace, something such as feeling safe, you're generating more of it. And I'm sure that's kind of behind what you're hoping for here, right? You want people to generate that on a large scale.
Yeah. I just want people to feel better. I think that there's so many people stuck in our societies, in the programming of society, and not being enough and not having enough, and with all of the things, and just being in this state of scared or pissed off. And it's not healthy. Yeah, but it's not healthy for the body, and it's not healthy for the greater good, because it's all impacted. How you are is what you are attracting, or who you are being is what you are attracting, but also it's having that impact on all the people and the things. Like, it's all the toroidal fields. That's all that this simulation is a bunch of fields of energy. Everything is energy. So you think about the impact that you, just as a being in that state of upset, angry, scared, frustrated, whatever, all of those lower level vibrations, how that is rippling out to the plants, animals, people, absolutely every single thing that is in your surrounding. And the opposite is true. How much of a wave of positivity, of joy, of love you could create by getting yourself simply out of that state of scarcity.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And to apply it on a more localized level, you asked me earlier, how did I heal my knees and how did I heal the cyst? I mean, I told you the cyst story. I applied the same basic principle with the knees, and the way I had done it was both knees were hurting, but when I was lying down, only one knee hurt. So I pretended that one was the healthy one because I had to have something to measure against. Otherwise, I had no way I was not strong enough to be able to put in my mind the idea that my knees were healthy when they're basically screaming, "No, we're not. We're in pain."
We're in pain. If I don't move, we're fine. But that brings up actually a really good point, Walt, because the thing that dropped in for me when you said this exercise in imagining, this whole and healthy and all of that is putting in mental effort towards fertility for me. And then the one thing that I wrote down was like markers, tangible. Like, I know that there's a lot of things going on within a woman's body, within my body, of like the hormones, and that changes drastically depending on which week the cycle is in. And then like visualizing all of that, like I don't know what a healthy uterus is supposed to look like. I don't actually know what I don't know physically with my eyeballs, like to conceptualize what is actually happening in there. And so how do I take your idea of just, even that 90 seconds of intention and maybe that's it, 90 seconds of intention, pure intention towards my body and imagining the perfect homeostasis of all of the hormones and the perfect, all of the things, all of that. Like, maybe I just make it up in my mind, or how do you do that? And I don't know if you know the answer, but how do you do that when you don't have like something to measure, like an opposite leg or an opposite arm, or you don't actually know what's going on inside?
It's a great question. And in fact, and our guest is connecting in too, so we're going to be able to bring her in. But I guess my answer would be, if you can Google and find an image stored someplace of what a healthy uterus looks like, that at least gives you something to reference off of. And then try to find some way to imagine, well, that's the way my uterus looks, or something along that line.
Yeah. I'm also doing this experiment with my teeth, because I'm like, hey, it'd be a cool experiment if I could, repair my teeth in the way that like the ones that are chipped, they just magically aren't. I mean, this is a different kind of topic, but I mean, there is multiple timelines going on, there is a timeline where my teeth are not chipped or broken or whatever I perceive is wrong with them. So
I mean, we do know the only thing that holds us back is our belief, and our belief is based on our experiences, so that's what's holding us back. But actually, I think we're going to be able to get into this a little bit more deeply because our guest is able to connect in at something like 4:30 in the morning. So I'm going to bring her on screen here.
Yeah.
If this works. Here we go. Okay, there she is. Hello, Jan. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hi, Walt. Hi, Jody
Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi.
Thanks for
Hi.
connecting at this very, very early hour.
Yes, you know what time is it for me here, right?
I think like 4:30 a.m., something like that.
Yes, exactly. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I wanted to to be honest, I really overslept.
That's all right.
I didn't even hear my alarm. I was like, when I woke up, I was like, wow, this is deep. But I got everything all set up because I knew that because of the time, I knew that, when my alarm rang, I just get up and then, just turn on.
So you were able to just connect in. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Thank you for getting up and doing this. I mean, this is one heck of a way to, 5 minutes ago you were asleep and now all of a sudden you're doing a podcast. Thank you for being willing to do that. That's not easy.
No worries. No problem. I was looking forward to it and I'm always super excited. Yeah. Some of my friends said that my energy is, my energy levels, right? I mean, since we are talking about law of attraction stuff, so I'm pretty sure you guys know about like energy stuff. Mm-hmm. So my energy goes like, I tend to be of a high vibrational energy when I'm doing or being in places or situations or with people who are just, I call it aligned, especially if they are, if you are soul aligned and if you're aligned with, our true authentic self. So yeah, that's why I can like just, get up straight away.
Right. Yeah, right. That's great. That's a wonderful skill.
Yeah.
I suspect you're going to be able to tie into what we've been talking about because we weren't really sure whether you were going to be able to connect today, but we just kind of started talking about health-related stuff on our own. And we've been talking about the power that the human mind has over the body. We were actually making reference to what is known in Western medicine in terms of the various kinds of connections we can make. I'm describing how, for instance, my sister-in-law, who had recently pursued a PhD in the neurosciences, had been telling me a couple of years ago, actually, about how, if you wire the whole body up with all the different things that they can measure, they can actually track from the moment you have a thought down to the point 90 seconds later where there's some point in your body that's got some sort of an injury. And if you're focusing on something happy, they can trace down how it actually leads to some healing going on down there 90 seconds later. And if you focus on something unhappy or angry or whatever, 90 seconds later, it's actually killing off the body down at that point. I mean, so we do have some physical Western knowledge that says, yeah, there really is a connection going on here. It is real. It's an actual thing. But nevertheless, we human beings, even when we were talking about experiments that we've been trying ourselves to do our own little bits of healing. And it's tough, especially if you have symptoms. It's tough to apply your mind and say, turn it into something else because we say, no, the body tells me this other thing. I can't do that. But I figure you might have some interesting insights on that because, among other things, well, you have helped people and do help people with cancer, but you're a key practitioner, and I mean, you've got some stuff to contribute here. So I'm going to shut up. You talk, and I'll listen.
No worries. Yeah, no worries. So, I love this topic. I mean, I love how just such topics just come naturally. I didn't really prepare much for this podcast, and you didn't even ask me. You didn't even prepare.
We never prepare. We just go for it.
And I love it. Yeah, it's just sort of like, all right, feel each other's vibe, and then just show up. I always say, just show up. As long as you show up and you be as real as you are, you know your own so-called boundaries per se, and it's entirely up to you to decide on how you want to actually answer it as well. Right? Don't structure it too much. So anyway, circling back to that question, my insights on it. Oh, by the way, did the listeners know about a bit about my background and stuff like that yet?
Give us the 2 minute.
Okay.
Because they really haven't gotten much from. I know a little bit, but they don't know a lot.
Okay. So just remind me to go back to that question.
Okay.
So that So, yes, hi listeners. Thank you so much for, patiently waiting for me to get up here in the morning. So my name is Yen. I'm from Singapore. I'm a young adult long-term cancer survivor. I had cancer when I was 23. So it's been 15 going on 16 years cancer-free here in Singapore. And, that led me to, go down this whole path about, healing, fitness, well-being, that's a whole journey that I've been on. So right now I am a certified integrative women's health coach, as well as I call myself a Chi movement practitioner teacher. Basically, even my own personal experience as a fitness instructor, Pilates instructor, and then now, moving into things like energy healing, particularly on Qigong. Yeah. So, that's that. So my mission in 2023 is to actually, inspire, empower, as well as guide cancer survivors, particularly women above 35, to what I call flow more into their rest, digest, manifest state.
Ooh.
Especially as they are entering into their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So I hope that's not too mouthful, but basically that's a bit about my, my background. All right. So going back to that question, I love it. I love I really love how you had that perspective of seeing that, the so-called the physical Western, or I call it the modern Western medicine, of how they look at, I call it the energy medicine kind of thing. And I'm not obviously I'm not medically trained, so I don't know how the medical school doctors are, but just based on what I heard and what I read and what I've observed over the last 15 years, okay, is that, even though, yes, the wellness industry, so to speak, the integrative, now from wellness, it's now becoming more integrative health and all that stuff, right? So, but something still hasn't changed. And that is, they're still, from the Western perspective, they're still seeking, evidence, as you said,
Right.
they're putting out all these little things, and they're just trying to, look from the, just trying to look for evidence to prove, maybe to prove or to enhance or to hack it, to find a way on figuring out how this whole energy medicine works. So I find this really interesting because this juncture of my life right now, right, I am, like I said, I'm studying deeper, practicing deeper into medical Qigong from an Oriental medical doctor actually based in the US.
Oh, really?
But yet he has deep, I could tell, he has deep, profound, he has deep, profound respect and reverence. I use the word reverence for Chinese medicine. He's been to China 10 times. I myself haven't even got a chance to go to China. So yeah.
We won't hold it against. Okay.
Oh, let's just see, let's just see. I mean, in the past, I never really thought about going to China, but I also learned that I let universe, do its way. Let God lead the way. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Sometimes we force it. Anyway, you know about LOA. The more you force it, the more it won't come. Sometimes as well.
Your result said, "Oh, I didn't expect that." Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, so this period of time, I'm actually studying deeper into medical Qigong. It's interesting because it also brings me back to my own roots as as an Asian Chinese. I'm born and raised in Singapore, but, in the blood, I'm still like Chinese based,
Sure.
right? Yeah. So it got me understanding deeper as well. And anyway, so what I say was interesting is because what I have learned, or what I've actually also seen and experienced, okay, because I have this background of both, I call it the both East and the West, living in Singapore. Okay. And then this is what I noticed when it comes to wellness or well-being or health in general. Okay. So from the Western perspective, they focus a lot on function. So everything they are trying to do, whether is it coming with a cure or coming up with evidence-based methods,
Right.
or trying to figure out what is this and giving all kinds of names or diagnoses, right? It's from a very functional point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's why there's a lot of proving. And whatever they want, they always want it, using only their three-dimensional physical senses. Okay. And and from the Western perspective, they're always thinking about what to add to, sort of heal from whatever diseases that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's why we see in advertisement, we always see things like, oh, if you have this, take this.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when all the ad dollars comes in, and
Right.
you see all, like during your commercial breaks, right? Showing all that. Yeah. So that's kind of like from the Western perspective. And then from the Eastern perspective, particularly, I guess, from the traditional Chinese medicine, but I think it also applies to Ayurvedic and basically Eastern practices, or even
Mm-hmm.
Traditional, Native American, or for you guys on Native American. So from that perspective, right, they look at well-being as something more intangible, what we call qi or energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they never think about function. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, it never crossed their mind, because the way they look at it is that it's like where the energy flows, right? It also includes the function of it. So they never think about the function. They think about the qi. So when they look at the qi, they look at also the relationship between, human being with other human beings, and my alarm, with other human beings and with the nature around them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that is why if you have a chance to visit a traditional Chinese medicine, or basically, Ayurvedic, naturopath, or stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't just look at what is wrong with you symptomatically, but they will also ask you, they will notice straight away, they will see, your eyes, your qi, they call it your qi, your aura, your emotional state, and stuff like that. They will try to get that overall feel. Okay. So that's really from the Western perspective. And they don't go from evidence-based. They usually don't go from evidence-based. Their treatment, or rather the way how they treat people, right? When someone comes and see them, when a patient comes and see the doctor or the physician, is very much on how to restore back to their original positive state, because they believe, all right, it's not even about they believe, they know for a fact that inherently, right, human beings have a powerful, or rather we have a very powerful healing in us. And physicians, right, skilled physicians, or, very wise physician, they know their role, all right, is not to 100% heal them, but to guide them, right, in their own healing process. So when you understand this, right, the dynamics is very different. You can actually tell the difference between what I call a Western trained so-called doctor and a Oriental trained doctor. The ego is very different. I mean, no offense. I think doctors, lawyers, you name it, right? They all have a role to play in the universe.
Sure.
But, since this is about LA today, and, I'm pretty sure you guys and listeners understand what I'm talking about. It's that aura that they tend to, exhibit. Of course, that being said, I always believe that, no one is perfect. I'm not perfect. We're all humans. We all have our battles to fight. We all have our blind spots and stuff like that. So for sure, some, Western trained doctors are super humble.
Mm-hmm.
Grounded and humble. And of course, there are some, TCM physicians, they are just all like egoistic and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But usually you can tell, how they treat. So from the, traditional Chinese medicine, or from the Oriental medicine point of view, they look at well-being as, instead of adding, all right, they focus on how to restore the body's qi back to equilibrium, back to flowing state. Everything is circular, all right. And how they do that is by, whether is it qigong, or some kind of exercise, some kind of herbs, or acupuncture, or massage. It's very holistic, or very all-encompassing thing. And they focus on, because they understand this whole qi concept, they focus on removing what they call blockages or qi blockages. Right? Because they believe that when we have diseases or when diseases manifest physically, it's the result of blockage of qi. And they don't really, test it. I mean, this is like 5,000, maybe 2,000, 5,000 years of history. So they don't really think about like evidence based. Everything is very much on, feeling, observing and stuff like that. I mean, that's how they get all the different acupuncture points. It's only of late, I think only in the last, if I'm not wrong, documentary that I was watching in China, I think it was only recently, I think in the 70s, since the 70s. So we're talking about less than 100 years, that they started doing more evidence, not because they are not convinced, but so that, but it's so interesting. They're doing it so that, I think it's twofold, two reasons. One is so that they are able to have a better discussion with what I call the Western medical field. Okay. And along the way, so the second thing would be, and along the way, they're probably having this curious mindset and see like, can they find out more, perhaps faster than they did a few thousand years ago. It's like they believe in like, let's tap the goodness of modern Western technology, blend in with, the thousands and thousands of years of, wisdom, their Chinese or shamanic medicine wisdom.
Yeah, that's actually one of the great things, that Western and Eastern medicine are so different, and the perspectives are so different. There's so much to learn from each other. Because when you have varied perspective like that, that's when there is the most to learn.
Yeah, and even if today, I mean, I noticed that in the last 15 years, there's this rapid growth, there's this rapid development in the Western way of, what I call wellness in general. All right. A lot of that's why we see so many different tracking devices. They're tracking, and it's starting to get even more precise. I went down that rabbit hole as well because, I did my training, my certification and training as a women's integrative health coach from a, Western trained or integrative trained doctor. And it was a lot about clinical studies, what this, research says, but as well a bit on, tapping into the feminine intuition as well. But I can still see that it's still, I don't know how to explain. I think because now that maybe I'm approaching 40, so different wisdom or going through this whole qigong period for me, right? I just see it like, wow, Western medicine is they're still way behind. They think they know more, but because they are finding, oh my gosh, they're like, oh, this is a new design, this is a new find, especially when they discover about a DNA map and all that stuff, right? They think they might know more, but actually they know so little, right? There's this famous quote by, is it Bruce Lee? The more you know, the more you don't know. Something like that.
I've heard it.
First, a lot of people have said that. But yeah, I think he might have said that, yes.
Was it Bruce Lee or somebody else? I can't remember. Sorry. Yeah, but I know something along that line, right? Yeah. The more you know, the more you don't know. And I'm like, wow, shit.
That's so true. So what are some things that you recommend to start getting into all of this, understanding it, having more awareness? Like, what are some easy things that we can start to do?
Yeah, great question. I would have to say, if this is the first time that that listeners or you understand about all of this, all right, I would say the first thing, okay, to do or to be, okay, sometimes you don't have to do, it's just to be, all right, as you mentioned, the self-awareness bit is very important. Because when someone is self-aware, right, it's like one of the biggest hurdle to really overcome. If they're not self-aware, then I always say this, if you don't believe, then no amount of evidence is ever going to convince you.
Yeah.
All right. So
true.
in a way, so similar, right? If you're not self-aware, Then no amount of whatever the latest fancy technology or research or pill or whatever you call it, all right, can really help. Okay.
Yeah.
So, which is why I love the way how Oriental medicine approach, right? And that is they look at physician as a guide, I call it a co-healer. The patient, yourself, all right, one to be self-aware and one, to be better. All right. So the first thing is that intention. All right. You want to have the intention of being well. So which means you also have to think about what does well means to you. Okay?
Yeah.
What does well means to you, or what does well really, really mean? Okay. And usually 9 out of 10 times, probably 10 out of 10 times, you ask anyone, no matter their age, all right, well to them is always having this state of inner peace. Not just, right, a state of vitality, not just energy, but vitality. It's like what you say, oh my gosh, you wake up in the morning and you just go,
I have to say something, because literally about 10 minutes before you came on the show, inner peace was exactly what Jody Lynn was talking about.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Inner peace. It's, I love it because I think it's reflecting as well my current state of perhaps intention as well. It's like in whatever I do, whatever I speak, whoever I'm with, before I make a decision, whether it's a yes or no, do I have a sense of inner peace? Do I feel satisfied and therefore the inner peace? Because when we don't have the sense of inner peace, that actually over time, it actually accumulates in our mind. All right. In Chinese medicine, we call it shen, in our mind. And then gradually, all right, it's going to start manifesting in a way, different kinds of illnesses. Okay. It takes time. All right. I love the way how the Chinese medicine say that prevention is always better than cure. Okay. It's so much easier. All right. To obviously it's so much easier to prevent the malices or the disease from manifesting. But should your body show slightest of symptoms, all right, it's so much easier to just remove it, right? It's just like brushing your teeth and cleaning, your kitchen and all that stuff. It's only when we try to mask it, all right, or ignore it, all right, and that's when all the misalignment thing, happen, and that's when disease manifests. And Western medicine tends to focus on giving you protocols that mask it, right? That's why it's all about quick fix. You have this issue, take this over the countertop, whatever anyway, not necessarily OTC, but any kind of drugs, and it's like they instantly feel good, all right, but they never really solve or they never really work on why it happened in the first place. And that's why after a while, right, that's why we have recurring so-called / diseases. And then the drug that they used to have it on no longer works. And that's when the pharmaceutical industry is so happy, because then, they go back and do their research and then make something even stronger, and then blah, blah, blah. And then they solve this one. Yeah, and then they solve this one thing only to have a secondary issue as well.
Yeah.
Right. And then it becomes like a vicious cycle, in the Western, the way how they look at it, right? It's, they don't focus on, health prevention. They focus a lot on, what is that word? They focus a lot on it's a disease-based model, not a health-based model. Yeah. So, okay. So quickly. So going back to what can listeners do if they are now self-aware that they don't feel good, right? Is that how you're saying?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So first thing is definitely setting a good intention that you want to be well. All right. And then from there, all right. I mean, this is when I guess you have to be, you sort of have to be aware to assess, like, is it better to use natural, what I call your own home remedies, or is it better to to see a physician or a doctor, because sometimes we do need them to guide us or to give us a bit of a head start.
Yeah.
All right. But let's just say that you don't want to see them yet. All right. Then basic stuff. Get good sleep, hydrate with proper water, move. What kind of movement is up to you. So even movement is so powerful. There are different kinds. There's so many different kinds of movements out there. You have YouTube as your friend. If you say you can't afford to go out there, there's literally no reason or there's no excuse we can give to ourselves for not moving. We went through this whole pandemic. Everyone is locked in, and we somehow figure a way to like exercise. Olympian athletes figure a way to clock it. They're training indoor. There's a will, there's a way, although.
Plus the pandemic also gave people a perspective that they hadn't had before, which was all of a sudden they couldn't move. They were in a sense prohibited from moving, and oh wow, I really appreciate the fact that I was able to move, and I really want to be able to do it again. So it actually enhanced.
Yes. And that's very interesting. It's because of that, many years of what I call that. I don't want to use the word Western, so I've not figured out what's the best term to use it yet. But I would say it's because also from the many, many years of Western or media approach of what is exercise, what is movement. They always think it's about going to the gym.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're talking about this. I've had an interesting relationship with going to the gym, and this is something that I've been not actual going to the gym, but a download that I had just recently is I love movement. Like I live on a farm. I love to be outside. I get really dirty when I go outside because I like to play hard and I'm in the sand, in the dirt, and I'm doing all of these things. And just this, distortion that to exercise or to have good enough movement, you got to go to the gym, which my grandmother was always like, you guys are stupid. You're paying $100 for a gym membership. Like just go outside, go do something. Anyway, sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. I love that you spontaneously share this as well. I mean, by the way, all of this is really from my experience because I went through that phases, but I call myself I was an accidental competitive figure athlete. So I understand. I spend oh my gosh, like for nearly 3-4 years, I was just eating, breathing, leaving gym, man. Not CrossFit gym, but more like really like the bodybuilding gym. So, and to me, it's like, if I didn't go to the gym, it means I didn't like exercise.
Bad day.
But that being said, there are merits to going to the gym. All right. Simply because, we're not living in the village days. We're not living in the hunter-gathering world right now. So sometimes it's beneficial to the person, all right, to have a gym membership if it helps them to get moving, the way how I look at gym right now, the different perspective is that I look at gym as a kind of like, it's like a village. It's like a village with a lot of metal, and it's well equipped and all that stuff. But yes, so adding on that movement, the correct kind of movement, there's so many types of movement. You have to fast, you have to slow, you have to hybrid. And there is no perfect movement, but the movement that make you feel better, that let you flow. Okay, a few key things, all right, let's blend in a little bit about from the Western approach, all right? A few key things with choosing the right kind of movements, all right? First of all, be okay that your movement style I'm not going to say may, but it will change with the seasons of life and of year. Okay. I can't really tell per se for men, but I think it's probably similar. But for women, especially, we have our menstruation cycle, and then we have our menopausal stage. Then we also have pregnancy for those who are, pregnant as well. So be okay, especially women. Be okay if you know that some times of the year or some times of your life, all right, you can't do what you once did before. And that's not because you fail. but that's because, things are evolving, and therefore you also evolve. Let your movement evolve. Don't be a slave to your movement, because that's kind of like dumb, right? Don't be a slave to movement, but let movement, empower you, right? Because, the human body is designed to move. Even, what's that guy's name? Nick, the man with no limbs. Look at him. He has no limbs, but he found a way to keep moving. He found a way to be living life to its fullest, right? Obviously that's like an extreme case. I'm not going to compare. There's no comparison here, but my point is, you get it. So choosing the right kind of movement. How do we know the movement is right? Ask yourself questions like, after I finish doing this particular movement, do I feel nourished or depleted? Do I feel nourished or depleted? It's a very intuitive kind of thing. All right. If I feel depleted, that means your movement style of choice, it's not super ideal for you right now in this state. Okay.
That's a beautiful question.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very deep. It's deep, but it does take a lot of awareness.
It takes some practice, I would think.
Yes, you're right.
Repeatedly to kind of tap into it and learn that you're tapping into it.
Yeah, and that's really like how I approach my coaching sessions with my clients as well. Mm-hmm. It definitely, you're right. It definitely take me a couple of years to practice that as well. This is the reason why sometimes I naturally don't quite. I mean, even my coaching style, my training style with clients have evolved over the years. In the past, I've like this program and we need to stick to the T. But then I realized that now I'm dealing with human beings. They, other than seeing me once or twice a week for an hour, right? They have lives outside that. They have their own family, work, entertainment, whatever you call it, right? And my role isn't to make them stick to the plan too much, but to also roll with it. And yeah, every session when I look at them, they will be like, I will ask either a few questions or just observe, and then I will tweak it and see if I can bring them back, as quickly as possible back to the protocol. And usually after a while, I can, depending on how the state as well. So yeah, ask yourself that question. And then let's get down a little bit more into the evidence-based approach. Is that another kind of way to look at whether a movement is right for you is, I would say, do you feel, so other than asking yourself, do you feel nourished or depleted? The next question to ask yourself is, or rather to observe is there some kind of, sweat going on? Because sweat is, I particularly like to look at sweat because sweat is a good indicator of your lymphatic system moving as well. Because when your lymph moves, your muscles move, and then, your whole respiratory system as well, there's some kind of, perspiration going on. All right. Obviously, I mean, Singapore is really humid, so it's kind of like, it can be fairly easy to perspire as well. But you know what I mean? That sweat just sort of means is that toxin removal. Mm-hmm. Okay. You may not need to be super drenched, but you'll feel some kind of like perspiration. And if it's winter for you, you will know, that feeling of, that pores opening, that bit of like, like that sweat, right? Yeah. So that's the second point about movement. The third thing that I can talk about with movement is, depending on your energetic state. All right. You learn how to be more forgiving with yourself when it comes to movement. Okay. Look at movement from that perspective. So if let's just say, and don't try to, what did I say? Don't pressure ourselves too much. Meaning to say that if today, your day is just mad busy, right? Like super mad busy, and you know that you can't do your regular 60 minutes. See if you can do 20 minutes, 15 minutes, or even 3 minutes, right? Yeah. Like why do people have to feel like, that's why this whole gym concept, I always laugh. I was like, people spend 8 hours of their lives, maybe 9 hours of their lives in a cubicle in an office, only to spend another 1-2 hours in another cubicle.
Yeah.
It's true to that.
And then when I look at that, I was like, this is so funny. And that was when I had this inspiration of, you know what? I want to start a trend. I want to make people realize that they can have movement everywhere. So that's sort of like that third thing I can mention is that you can move literally anywhere if you want to. Like right now, okay, if you can't go to the gym, okay, maybe you want to do, semi squat. It's even harder than actually doing all your heavy squats. Just stand there or you do your work, or having a chat. Obviously if you have to entertain clients or not clients, if you have meeting, doing that might seem a bit unprofessional or weird. But if a person is really wanting to move, they will find ways to do it. They don't really have to go to the gym, or what we call, calisthenics, right? The old school, I call it the old school, as what your grandmother say, right? The old school people, they'll find a way to do it, right? 20 minutes, just go out. And yes, other things that listeners could do, is to be with nature, touch the ground. Grounding is really so important. It's so important. In Singapore, we live in a lot of high-rise apartments, and especially over the last few years, I definitely can feel the difference between, when I don't go out of my apartment, right? I can feel something is off because I live in a high-rise building. I live at like 21st floor. I can feel something is off, and the moment, right, I am like down, like when I go out, the moment I just step foot on ground, I feel, whoa, it's like I feel the earth's energy just grounding me straight away, and all of a sudden I feel much better. So in the past, I actually don't feel it so much. So I guess the whole energy healing, the whole energy practice thing made me a little more, like sensitive. So yes, be in the nature as much as you can. Nature made up of all the elements, earth, wind, water, fire as well. That's why we don't do that here in Singapore, but sometimes I do love this whole campfire feeling that, that the seasonal countries get it, the four season countries get it, the crackling and all that stuff. It creates, all the, negative ions. It's perfect. But I live by the beach, so, I can compare this.
That's
so there's a trade-off. Yeah.
Yeah,
You may not have a campfire, but you got a beach.
Yes. So that's that. So there's movement. And then, I mentioned about hydration, sleep, what else? Definitely nutrition. Nutrition, it's so funny that what's happening right now in the whole world. It's like, why do we still need to prove why do people still need to prove that eating whole foods is good? Why do people need to complicate about eating whole foods? In the past it was this diet, and then keto, and then paleo, and then now they go into whole foods, and then they talk about eating more of this, eating more of that. And in Asia, we don't really see, like, it's like, I don't know, it's like we just sort of grow up eating whole foods more.
Yeah.
Because, there's no because, it's just our culture. That being said, there's so much Western influence. So that's why obesity is also on the rise here in this part of the world. So yeah, so just eat eat seasonal, eat vegetables, not vegetables, eat whole foods, eat whatever that's in season in your market. And obviously watch the way how you cook as well. So cooking becomes the next, it's another big topic for another day. But yeah, eat whole foods. I also think that this is probably popularized by the Japanese way, but I call it's very intuitive, and that is just eat what we say, eat to about 70 to 80% full. Don't eat too full. The issue with a lot of what's happening, all right, in the health world, or not health world, yeah, in the health and wellness world, is that we notice that people are, there's no balance, there's no sense of balance, in the sense that they're eating in abundance. So abundance is not a bad thing, but they are eating overly in abundance of anything, even if it's a good thing.
Like overindulging?
Yeah. You can say overindulging, but it can be like, okay, so I'll give you an example, right? Let's just say right now eating, what's the trend right now that I'm seeing? Let's just say, let's say omega-3s. Okay. Let's just say right now, the trends like eating your omega-3s is good for you. So, eat your salmon, your chia seeds, blah, blah, blah. Basically the same stuff. But overeating them, right, can also backfire on you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It definitely can, and that's when, like people start to obsess, like each meal, it becomes like they overeat it. They overeat themselves, like, oh my gosh, I need my stomach to be filled up, then I feel full. But no, when you really mindfully eat, you realize that, by the time you feel, I call it 3/4 full, 70 to 80% full, you feel fine. You feel great. And all of a sudden you realize that you don't have all your cravings and, you feel good. You feel good as well. This is in general, obviously. People who are what I call chronically depleted in terms of nutrition, all right, they may not have the intuitiveness or the ability to eat like that. And that's a different, slightly different approach as well. But that being said, usually the basic stuff, right? You get your sleep in, your hydration, your right type of movement, your right type of nutrition. And, I don't want to use the word meditation, but I think what I've learned recently is getting some kind of breathing practices or breath work into place, which is all the rage right now as well. I'm not, again, I'm not trauma certified. I'm not somatic certified. I don't want to use all these big jargon words out there. It's just simple breathing. Okay, there's so many different kinds of breathing out there. And sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, why do we need to breathe? Well, like you don't teach a baby how to breathe. When the baby is first born, what do you do? Breathe, baby, breathe. Breathe, breathe. We come into this world, taking our first breath, we leave this world taking our last breath. In between, we complicate our breathing. There are many different kinds of breathing.
What don't we complicate?
And anyway, I don't know, just a question I'm interested to ask. Why do you think, what's your perspective? Why do you think we complicate, life so much?
Well, from my perspective, I think that we're looking for that, like our society in Western societies, Western cultures, it's all based on that evidence, what you can see, what is the current reality that is in front of you. And I think we get stuck in finding those answers. So I think we complicate things so that we can give ourselves the evidence that we need to actually believe it and then change it and do something about it. And yeah, that's what I think.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I definitely can see that perspective as well. I also saw it as well. And it is like, why do we need the evidence before we actually start practicing? Why don't we just start practicing right now? And that is really what's happening. That's really like what's happening. And that's why a lot of people, from what I observe, especially people who have been chronically ill, they start to feel, they start to lose a sense of hope when it comes to feeling better, because, just imagine if you have been chronically so-called ill for many, many years. You went to see this doctor, you try this, and nothing works, right? After a while, the hope gets, it's taken away from them and they start to not, believe. And then that's when all the evidence practices, all the research and all this stuff, all the evidence come into play. And as you said, once the evidence come out, then they start to do it. But by then, right, it's, I won't say it's slow, but it's more like, that's kind of like not the most efficient way. We're not talking about efficiency, right? Let's talk about the Western, like productively and efficient. It's not a very efficient way of healing, of bringing people back to health. All right. But instead, we got to practice more simple stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there's an issue. I don't know if this is just Western society or all of humanity, perhaps, but I think there is an issue with us trusting ourselves and building that muscle of that intuition, that intention of listening and that belief system that I know what is best for me and that I can, sit firmly in that seat grounded and I know and I'm listening. And for me, I mean, my almost all adulthood didn't do that. And then it was, okay, I'm going to become more, like intuitive. I want to listen to what my body is saying and go with that. But I mean, when you start to buck that system and you stop looking at everyone else to tell you what you should be doing, it takes a lot of courage. And I think a lot of practice.
Yes. I think on that note, right, the first word that came to my mind is the word disconnect. A lot of us, we, like if you look at kids, why are we so drawn to kids or to children most of the time? It's because they are some of the most connected people in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, they came into this world with no, I call it bullshit conditioning.
Yeah.
Right? So they're so connected. And I guess inherently, right, adults, when we look at them, I think the inner child in us, or the deep, the deep inner intuitive being in us, know that we were once like that. We know that is right. Yeah. But we over the years, right, we became so disconnected. And that's when we don't trust ourselves. And that's why we need more evidence and more evidence and more evidence and more evidence, to the point where you guys heading? Where you guys heading? Right? Use the money, use your intelligence, use your resources and heal, right, the systems of our society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to go political, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Back to the question that you raised, the way I would answer that question, I would go back to what we know about what we here in the West call the law of attraction, the energetic realm, as Chinese medicine would understand it. And in that realm, as we understand it here, if we are focused in some way on something that is feeling good to us, that's when our flow is good. When we're focused on something that doesn't feel good to us, that's when the flow is off, and that's when you get into that disconnected state that you were referring to a moment ago. I think the reason why we do have all of these experiences with people being disconnected is because we live in a world, in a society here in the U.S. and in Western societies. I suspect it's probably just about every society on the planet that, to one degree or another, loves drama. And drama is about that contrast between here is the idealized feeling good state, and here's that terrible, terrible feeling state over here. And how do the two interact? And they create some sort of a conflict, and there's a crisis and a resolution, and there's all. I mean, we love that. Look at almost anything that exists in this world. Anything from, video gaming comes to my mind. People love video games. What are video games all about? They're about playing out this, good versus evil thing, about the energy struggles and so forth. And you have the entertainment industry, you have the news industry and the politics, and almost everywhere you look, it's all about the drama. Yeah. And then we wonder why we having so much trouble moving our energy.
Yeah, you're right. It's, I mean, I'm human, so sometimes I fall into it. So it's just interesting that, oh my gosh, sometimes I also fall into the whole drama. We call it the drama mama. But that's why we most of us, we like to, if you're not aware, we're just drawn to entertainment. Yeah. Because, I guess, they're disconnected, they're bored, or they're afraid, or they're not ready to face what they need to face in order to, heal as well. But I actually want to mention this thing about, because you mentioned about contrast and stuff like that, right? And that is, I learned over the years, right, that, with contrast, then it allows us to actually appreciate the goodness of life. Mm-hmm. It's like we don't know colors exist if we have black and white on extreme, right?
The contrast,
like if everything is all like one color, then, I mean, it's not boring, but it's more like it is what it is. But unfortunately, right? We live in
I think it is fortunate. I think it's a good thing. It's one of the reasons why we want to live in this life. Because, what is color? What does chocolate taste like? what
Yeah.
is all
We
these things?
appreciate it.
Yeah, you have to have this physical experience in order to appreciate that stuff. That's what you're here for.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we are, sort of design it. But, for those who are very spiritual, like they really practice esoteric stuff, right? They actually see like, I call it like those Zen masters in those high mountains, right? They see past all this. And to them, it's not even about wanting to enjoy or experience different colors and varieties. They sort of see past it. It's very deep. It takes years and years of practice and intent as well to get there. But I call it for mere mortals like you and I, right? We just want to experience good flow and stuff like that. And this really goes back to the whole health concept, the whole prevention is better than cure concept on, when there is contrast, when there's a misalignment in your flow state. All right. Don't be afraid. All right. That's when we talk about cultivating health resiliency practices. All right. To get yourself realigned or recalibrated as well. Don't be afraid of having some symptoms. All right. It's not the end of the world. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. Oh my gosh. Let me just run to the doctor to get checked and stuff like that. Don't run to that. Like symptoms are science. So I don't know how the Western medical doctor is going to look at this, but symptoms are really signs that the body is trying to tell you that, hey, something is off. Yeah, something is off. It could be pure physical injury, or it could be more, psychosomatic, or it could be something that you accidentally picked up from outside. They call it the negative chi. Okay. That's why you have seasonal illnesses and all that stuff, right? Don't be afraid when your body shows those symptoms. All right. It's telling you that it's actually the body's way of communicating with you. Like, hey, Walt, hey, Jody, this part of this gear of your car, it's not working well. We kind of like, let's clean it up. Like right now, if you really want to be operating at high speed. Yeah. So, that's when you do your natural practices if you want to quickly remove or restore, anything that causes the symptoms to happen in the first place. And, that's that bit that I want to talk about, when you feel misaligned, when you have a bit of contrast, in the case of health, it's what I call that symptoms. Start cultivating your health practices through around, your sleep, your movement, a bit of breathing, breathwork practices. Because when we breathe, the interesting is that when we take intentional practice to just breathe, somehow or rather, you unintentionally, unknowingly, all right. Sometimes we just don't need to use much of the knowing of our head. Sometimes we unknowingly enter a form of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we don't have to complicate, like these are the steps to meditation. Pause. If you need your timer, if this is the first time you're doing it, or sometimes, we call it the monkey mind, just pause. All right. And just breathe. In fact, is there a right or wrong way to breathe? The answer from what I learned is no. Okay. I would only say that the right way to breathe is one that makes you feel nourished and that tends to bring you back to your state of inner peace and calmness.
That's a good test.
Yeah.
Right? So, so that's that. So it's like, if it's a very chaotic state and you can feel your heart pumping and all that stuff, which is very much needed. The body needs. If you know that you're in a dangerous state, right? In danger state, it's important to get into that fight, flight mode and run away from the danger as well. Right. Yeah. And then after that, you need to you need to come back to, like, I call it, come back to stillness, come back to, to that Zen moment. I mean, the world is so hectic right now. We live in such fast-paced world. I would imagine that most of us would benefit from just slowing down, from just being more calm,
Especially since
cultivating more.
most of us actually don't have to deal with, being chased by a tiger. It's not part of our normal daily existence anymore. It might have been, 300 or 400 years ago, but it's just not now. That's not
Yeah,
the experience.
that's true. That is true. But also let's not forget that we may not be in the hunter-gathering world right now, but we are in a modern world where perhaps, right, their version of tiger, it could be, how do I put food on table? It could be that super, stressful work situation going on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. To them, maybe that's, the tiger state. That tiger that they're running away from.
So the point is that we're actually creating the tiger state. It isn't something that is occurring to us. We're the ones who are making it.
Yeah. I mean, the state of mind, the perspectives as well. I get what you mean. Yes. Personally, I'm still going through it in the sense that I'm still practicing this. It is tricky as well. And sometimes when I find myself feeling overwhelmed in a negative way, then I will try to pause, breathe, and ask myself, things like, actually, that's a very good, this is a very good question, because I think I stopped asking myself so much, but rather just practice what I was just said. Breathe. Sometimes the more I breathe, in whatever way, I usually start off with a full exhalation first, because once you fully exhale, the next thing you do is to inhale.
One follows the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
People think they need to inhale first to breathe. And I mean, it's not bad. It's not wrong. But for me personally, I find tremendous benefit in fully exhaling first, which then allows me to take in my next breath in with a little bit more intention. And then the next breath becomes even, more intentional and slower. And that's also the reason why I particularly love the 4-7-8 breathing method. I'm sure you guys heard of it before. It's invented by this integrative doctor, right? Dr. Andrew Will. This 4-7-8 breathing. You notice in 4-7-8 is pretty much inhale 4 counts, hold 7, exhale 8. So the exhalation is twice as long as the inhalation. He started off with the inhalation, but through my practices, I realized that, wow, it's the exhalation practice. It's the exhalation part that has more benefits to it, because carbon dioxide. So let's talk a bit about science, because carbon dioxide is the one that actually stimulates our respiratory system. When we give CPR to someone, we are actually exhaling carbon dioxide into the person's respiratory system. We don't give them oxygen because we need oxygen as well. We inhale air with oxygen, we expel CO2. So it's the presence of a little bit more carbon dioxide in our respiratory system that actually kickstarts the whole breathing mechanism. So when I learned that, right, this is a fact, by the way, so this is the science aspect. But when I learned that fact, it totally changes the way how I look at breathing. Because in the past, I focused so much about inhaling oxygen, right? Okay, and sometimes when we do that, that's when we start to get lightheaded, because we haven't been able to practice that over inhalation. It gives me a different perspective. And then once I learned about this whole CO2 thing, I realized that, you know what, Ian, focus a little bit more on the exhaling first. Focus more on the exhaling to cultivate your breathing practices, even deeper. And by the way, what I learned from Qigong is that breath work is so powerful in healing. For me right now, when I practice my breath work, I actually sweat. I even sweat.
Wow.
Yeah, without even moving. Yes. So I was like, is there something wrong with me? But that's the thing. I don't feel wrong. I just feel like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm like sweating. I'm not kidding.
Do you feel nourished?
Yes. Or at least I practice until I feel nourished. And then, and then when I work with a client, so right now I'm working with a client, she's just work with me on like anything to do with keeping her in a good state. And sometimes we do a bit more breathing work. In fact, the more I slow down with her with movement and intentionally bring her awareness or focus into breathing, all right, she is perspiring like crazy and she feels so much better after that. And I always laugh and I say, it's funny, right? All these trends that we see make us want to do more. But yet, sometimes when we break things down so simple into simple chunks, things like breath work, simple yet slow movement. Oh my gosh, look at the amount of sweat. She's perspiring, and she used to tell me, I hardly sweat. I was like, sweating now, and you feel good. The most important thing is that you don't feel depleted. You felt good. She didn't feel it initially, but after a few months, she was the one who reported and shared with me, right, that she's never felt better than before. Wow. When I received that text, I was like, wow, I didn't expect that as well. She was telling me like, like when I go to, I used to go to this place and I'm very fearful and apprehensive of the streets because I have weak ankles and all that stuff, but I don't feel like that right now. And I was like, this is what I mean about being in that vital state.
Yeah.
It's very subtle. It's very obvious to me because I'm so aware, right? It's very subtle. But to me, this is what living is. You're in a state of, well-being all the time. You're not living in fear, in constant fear, right? And what you think you cannot feel or do, somehow you can. And then you feel inspired. And you know about the whole emotional skill. You're climbing up the emotional skill. Yeah. But I that's why sometimes I feel like, you know what? You guys don't need to know so much theory. Just start practicing. Let the experience lead the way. We have so much head knowledge that we don't get to connect with our heart, right? I read this in this book. Maybe you guys have heard of this saying before. And someone else, I don't know, it's probably a very old saying as well. The longest distance in life is the 20 inches between the head and the heart.
Yeah.
It stuck in my head for a very long time when I read that quote. The longest distance in life is the 20 inches between your head and the heart. And that has definitely shaped my own personal journey, since then. Because I always remembered, like, this is the longest one. And it's so funny, right? Like, guess what? Look at what Heart Math Institute is doing right now. Spending all these years of research, money and all that stuff, coming with different technologies, coming with breath practices. I even read the book, and when I read it, I'm like, this is interesting because I intuitively discovered something that's already out there. That is the healing power of our heart. All right, the healing power of our heart, and it goes back to the whole trust thing. Goes back to the whole disconnect thing. We need a lot more of our, that I call it that invisible, heart energy, and the heart is such a beautiful organ. Your brain can be dead, but the heart itself can still pump. As long as your heart is still beating, you have a life, right? The heart is, it's a very fascinating organ.
I know that our excuse me, our hearts have been beating like crazy here because we can only go an hour. We're on an hour and a half. I think this is the longest episode we've ever done.
Oh.
That shows
that's because I came in half an hour late too.
Well, partly that, but what you've been talking about here is powerful stuff, and it just keeps sucking us in. It's a good rabbit. Any good rabbit hole is the one that draws you to keep going further and further and further and further, and that's what we've been doing. So,
right. Well, life is a spiral. If you think you're back to square one, you're actually not back to square one.
Never.
You're in a different dimension as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I personally also believe, and I can actually see that happening for me and for those around me, is that lessons, or rather life, will keep giving you similar experiences, and until you are ready and you have learned what you need to learn in the experience before you move on to the next next level, next stage. I learned this the hard way, and I'm still learning. And but this life is never. I used to be in that chasing mode. I need to get there, but no, Yan, it's not the end goal. but the process. And
Yeah,
that's
I think
when,
there's so often that there shows up, it ends up coming to you. That's the way I like to think about it. Instead of you going after it, it comes to you.
yeah, let it come to you. And okay, so on that note, what I'm, one of my current practice focus, my own personal practice focus is really coming back to the state of the now. If I try to, if I'm closing my eyes because I'm tend to be more of an inner visualizer, all right? If we can actually visualize this, when we are trying to chase something, all right, we are spending energy in all the wrong places because it's so chaotic. It's really so chaotic out there, right? But when you come to a state of stillness, into the present moment focus, all of a sudden, you can actually feel or see the things around you. It's moving. And what's meant to be, or rather depending on your state, right, it will be all drawn to you effortlessly. Obviously the only thing you need to do is really have to have the intention and then come to stillness, or what I call the rest, digest, manifest state, rest, digest, manifest state, or rest, digest state. And then that's when the whole manifestation, start to take place. Yeah. And that whole presencing, the more you still, the more you come to the present moment, that's when the healing happens as well. It's easier said than done, because we have so much bullshit conditioning. That's why I say it.
Yes.
But being aware that, that helps a lot. That's why I love doing my breathwork practices. Sometimes I can't be still, then I will move as well. Whether it's fast movement or slow movement, whether it's pick up my weights or stuff like that. Even in motion, you can also be in that flowing present moment state, just like water, right? Still water. When the wind blows, the water is moving, right? And all that stuff. So, yeah. I'm curious, by the way, before we end, what's your favorite element?
My favorite element?
Of nature. You have earth, wind, water, fire, and metal.
I have to pick one?
Well, may not be.
To me, they're all so integrated that trying to isolate one just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Okay. Maybe I should rephrase that question. Good one. What is your current intuitive state of, if you have to say, all right, pick one right now, this particular season of your life on 26th of April, 2023.
So, it's selecting from the four main elements, which one is resonating the most right now?
Yeah.
Oh man. I guess air.
Go to the heart. In 10 seconds. What's the first question? What's the first answer?
The first one that came to me was land, like Mother Earth.
Okay. Walt, what's yours?
Air.
Air. Okay. Nice. Air and land. Beautiful.
What does it mean?
No, there's no meaning. I mean, I don't know. There's no particular meaning. I guess land signifies, you just want to be grounded. You like the whole, I want to use the word space, but then there's air and space as well. So I won't call it space. You like the whole grounding, you like the life kind of stuff. You like grounding. You like a lot of your ground. Okay. Maybe it represents something deeper. I don't know, Air typically signifies like a lot of, talk, like you want to do a lot of talking or listening and,
Well, surprised I'm doing a podcast.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There's that too. You probably like, a bit of that floaty feeling as well, just stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just curious. Sometimes I like to ask my friends as well and people such questions.
That's fine.
I love it.
Fun.
Fortunately, we do have to kind of draw to a close. But
Okay.
I want to thank you for waking up at this early hour in your place to come join us. And my cat is now awakened too, so he's going to join us. I also want to ask for two things. First of all, someone who wants to work with you, how does somebody reach out to you? How do they find you?
Oh, that's easy. So they can actually find me on Instagram at The Real Yan Huang, as well. They can also, I think that's really like one of the easiest way to do so. They can also reach out to me on Telegram, also if they have Telegram, also with the same, user ID, the nickname at The Real Yan Huang. I do have a YouTube as well, Wellness with Yen,
Okay.
or at the real Yan Huang, but the name is Wellness with Yen as well. Yeah. So for the listeners out there, just to share with you, I am running a promotion right now whereby I'm offering what I call live practice sessions with them. So see this live practice sessions as your co-healer in whatever, in whatever state that you need, whether is it on the movement or the nutrition or the breath work or on meditation and stuff like that. So our practices can go from anywhere between 20 to 45 minutes. The intention of the practice is really to get you into the habit of, practicing, of picking something up. And the promotion rate, it's unbelievable. I'm pricing it at $22 per session.
Wow.
In blocks of 4 and to be used up in 30 days. And I intentionally designed it this way so that people can, how do I say, so that people show up, Yeah. I mean, I can price it high, like going to the gym membership, but no, I'm at this stage whereby I'm putting out to the universe. Okay. I'm sensing that some people really, really, really want that kickstart or that help, right? And for some reason, perhaps they are feeling financially drained or whatever it is, then, hey, I'm putting this promotion and I'm offering for, to the first 11 person who actually picked it up. I will share all these links with you as well, Walt, so that you can place them in the
show notes too.
in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
So yes, so easiest way is at the real Yan Huang at Instagram. Come say hello, follow me, and I will share, all my behind the scenes stories and tips and stuff along about healing, not just about cancer, not just about my cancer healing story, but also all about wellness, about restoring. I would say cultivate our health resilience practices, restore. And most importantly, to flow more, I call it in the rest, digest, manifest state. Because we all deserve, we all deserve to be living a full life, full and fulfilling life while we are here.
Very good. And then one last thing I want to make sure that I give to you, which I give to all of our guests who come to join us, because everybody who joins us on the show is a giver. You're definitely a giver. You've been giving all this stuff. It's just been pouring out of you, just giving and giving and giving. I'm sure you do other podcasts. You have, various ways through Instagram. You're putting out all this material and people are benefiting from it. And the one thing that I noticed is that there are, there's a phenomenon that goes on that we kind of dismiss. We kind of skip over it. But it's that there are so many people that we reach out to and we touch. We never see them. We never hear them. We don't know who they are, but they pick up something from, they hear something that we said or they read something that we wrote or something along that line. And we don't give credit for that. So I like to give credit. And the way I like to say it is on behalf of all those people that you've never met and that you've never seen, thank you for what you've been doing and what you're continuing to do because you're making a difference in this world.
Thank you so much, Walt, for saying that. I'm just dumbfounded, but I'm deeply appreciate for you saying that. Thank you. Thank you for actually saying it. Yeah. Keeps me going as well.
And thank you, Jody Lynn. I mean, we isn't it interesting how this conversation, you and I, we got it going because, Ellen couldn't be here just at the time that we were starting. And look how it kind of evolved.
There were so many things that, like, you joined the conversation. It was like, bam, we were just talking about that. We were just talking about that. We were just talking about that. All of these things just aligned, like literally right before you came onto the podcast. I'm like, I'm not sure how this fits in, but blah, 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 talking about nature and serenity and feeling at peace in your own body. And then boom, you show up and you put all the pieces together. So
I love it. And it's even more amazing is because we didn't even chat before that.
No.
Typically I will have a couple of minutes chat with the host just to see, how things are, the vibes and all that stuff. But I just rolled up and I was like, all right, turn on the light. Yeah. Just wash up a little, like you just roll up from the bed and then just show up like Oh my gosh. And this is actually the first time. So I was sharing this on my Instagram. Like, this is the first time I'm going live. So you can see I'm not like, yeah, this is the first time I'm going live. Like, I don't know how to figure this whole stream yet. I've not figured it out. So much technical work involved. So I was like, I don't know what to expect. All I know is to just show up and yeah, let the universe lead the way. So
Yeah.
thank you for having this LOA Today, radio show for the people out there. And
You're doing it for the last 10 plus years. It has been an absolute joy doing this journey. Yeah.
Wow. Totally, like, you're totally really in your own element, your own zone. I'm so glad that I'm on the show. I'm so glad that I found your show as well, and that I'm here on the show sharing about, anything to do with law of attraction, energy, stuff like that. It's my jam for the longest time. It just took me a while to be ready. Not okay. Yeah, it took me a while to be ready to openly talk about things like that, my own personal experiences.
Yeah, there's a mental process you have to go through for kind of take the leap.
Yeah, because it's so different from the 3-dimensional world, right? But but I always say, like I said, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Everything is a spiral. Eventually we'll come back to it, And the funny thing is that the more we fight it, then, the more it will come back to us like a tornado.
And here we are. Right here. Yeah. I love it. So thank you very much. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.